This season of DECIVILIZED is all about natural disasters, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking about car accidents. I know it sounds completely out of left field, but with the chaos of natural disasters, there's often very dangerous driving situations. In any case, anytime you get in a car, there's the possibility that something will go wrong or that you're going to come upon the scene of an accident. So I'm going to go ahead and call car accidents an entire natural disaster of their own.
My name is Laura Zara.
The most important thing is not dying.
I'm a survival and backcountry specialist.
I'm getting caught on every tree branch. Whew. I love antlers.
I have a hard time explaining what I do and what my life looks like.
But it's way easier to just show you.
Sometimes you end up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you can't always predict where the bears are gonna be.
Learn what it takes to become decivilized.
You can't always predict when something's gonna happen, but there's certain things you can carry in your vehicle at all times in case something does. Probably already thought of some of these things like jumper cables or tools to change a flat, but there's some things you can have you probably haven't thought of. So come with me and see what I carry in my truck. I guess it's gonna be really hard to show you what I have here, so I'm probably gonna have to pull it out. So I kind of break what I have into seasonal, but I really only think about two seasons, snow and no snow. And really I have some of this stuff that I carry all the time, and then I add other things when there's snow. The thing I have most accessible, I hang it right on the back of my seat, is my med kit. I picked this one up from Fieldcraft Survival, and it's just really nice because I oftentimes have stuff in my back seat. I don't want to have to flip open to get to my storage. It's right there, I can grab it, it's mobile, I can get to where I need to go. I always make sure to have tourniquets. Very easily available along with rubber gloves. That way, it's kind of like the thing I'm gonna need the quickest, and it's right there. I always have trauma shears. These trauma shears actually have a seatbelt cutter as well as a window breaker. I have all sorts of different gauze, stuff to stop bleeding. I also have aspirin and allergy meds because both of those can be life-saving. And then, also easily accessible, I have my roadside flares because I don't want to become roadkill when I'm trying to help someone. I also make sure to throw vet wrap into my medical kit because I have a dog and you never know. If you're going up to an accident scene, you want to be able to have a headlamp that never leaves, that's always in that kit, that you know right where it is, so you can grab it and go. I also carry around a really adorable fire extinguisher. You can pick these up for super cheap and takes up almost no space. Yeah, chances you need it aren't great, but you know what? I'm ready. I always make sure to have at least a couple gallons of water in my vehicle. If I'm going out and it's gonna be really hot and I'm going out pretty far, I'm gonna have more than that. I also have a pot that I have in there just in case I run out of water and I need to boil some. I have this whole bag of snacks and I try not to eat them unless I'm in a really dire situation. Then I throw in a meal just because I'm fancy. Obviously, I'm gonna carry my MQC knife because you never know when you might need to get in a knife fight. I always have my inReach in my car because you never know when you're not gonna be in service. And of course, that's gonna be where you will break down. I also have some glow sticks in case I come upon an unexpected rave, but also they last 6 hours. So in case I do get stuck somewhere, I can have something visible I can just hang. It's there. There's a few things that I add if I know that I'm gonna be off-road. I will throw in some rain gear because again, if I have a problem and I'm way out in the middle of nowhere, it's gonna be raining and it's way nicer to fix a flat tire when you have rain gear on. I also will have my pack with me, and that's in case I need to hike out because I'm not gonna count on someone coming and getting me if for some reason I can't get a message out, get anyone to come and pick me up. I'm gonna take all my gear, I'm gonna have my tent, I'm gonna have my sleeping bag, I'm gonna have all that kind of stuff, and I'm gonna be able to just hike out to wherever I will find someone else. I've actually had this happen. I was at the end of a 20-mile dirt road, and I came back to the truck after 3 weeks to an extremely flat tire that was so rusted on that I could not get the lug nuts off for the life of me. So I just had to continue on my trek and hike 20 miles out to the main road. Super fun. Glad I had my stuff with me. I also like to have spare emergency blankets in my vehicle somewhere because you never know when you might have a friend who's cold too. If I'm going off-road, I always make sure to get a full tank of gas at the very last place I can get it, even if I don't think I'm gonna need it, because I have been turned around on Forest Service roads and I've been really grateful for that extra fuel. Speaking of getting lost, it's really nice to have maps before you get out of service. Just like if you were walking, being in a truck and driving around on these Forest Service roads and you're seeing all the numbers and you're trying to remember, well, is it 462 or 1179 that I wanted? And it's really great when you can pull that map out. If you're using an app like Onyx, make sure you have those maps downloaded and saved, or have a paper copy of maps. Yes, they do still exist. If it's cold out, I always make sure that I have a layer of clothes, not just like one extra layer, but enough that I would be comfortable to be standing outside in for a long period of time. I know a lot of people like to drive with the heat. Maybe you're going somewhere and you're like dressed for that. I don't care, like have it stashed away in your car somewhere, along with boots. I also always in the wintertime have my sleeping bag in my car with me. I was stuck in the polar vortex in Indiana on the side of the road. Everything shut down. I was there for 3 days. I was also drinking the green bean juice out of my canned green beans that I had with me because all my water was frozen. And I have since learned that I will always carry a pot or a jet boil, something to melt snow with. You can also use your water heating device to make that hot water bottle that you can use to keep yourself warm. I also carry a candle in the wintertime. And it's not just for ambiance. It actually is incredible how much that can heat the car up if you just have a single candle in there. With a candle or any sort of heat source, you cannot have that in an unventilated area without the potential risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. So crack your window. I don't mean you have to put the whole thing down, just crack it enough to get some ventilation and some airflow in there. At the same time, you need to worry about your tailpipe. If you're stuck somewhere in the snow and it's really coming down and your tailpipe gets covered, that's a really dangerous thing if your car is on. I like to have a little snow shovel in my truck in the wintertime so that I can make that really easy. If you don't, I've improvised with cardboard before. It gets soggy, but if it's cold enough, it takes longer for that to happen. If you do go off the road in the snow, stay in your car. A lot of times there's really low visibility, maybe it's even nighttime. The roads are probably pretty bad, that's why you're off the road now. So you going up, not only are you leaving the shelter of your car, but you're also putting yourself in the way of someone who might be coming in their own vehicle out of control. You also have a shelter that hopefully you have some gear with you in that you can ride the storm out in, and you're not leaving with the potential of not being able to find your way back. It sounds crazy, but in these low visibility conditions, it might be impossible to find your car. You get turned around in that snowstorm and cool, now you left everything behind. So that's a whole new survival situation. Stay in your car. Something I've encountered more than I've wanted to on all of my road trips is coming across the scene of an accident. And a lot of times when people are pulling up, they don't know what to do. I know what I've done, but there's people out there who have a lot more experience in handling the situation. So I decided to talk to one of them for the best advice. I'm here with my friend Robert Hanneman, who has worked for the Missoula Fire Department for 24 years and has been a hunting consultant for the Huntin' Fool for 14
years.
Thanks for being here.
No problem.
I feel like coming upon the scene of an accident, I asked you, what's the best thing to do? And then you blew my mind. What's the way of thinking when you get to an accident?
Man, the first thing I'd say is just stay calm. Because if you get ramped up, everyone else is gonna get ramped up, and then it's gonna get awkward. You know, number one thing is your safety. You didn't cause this accident, you just pulled up, you're trying to help, but you don't wanna add to the accident and be the next casualty, so just be safe. You can help those people, but really they need more than likely long-term medical help, and the faster you get that rolling, the better chance they have of survival.
I've been in a situation where I am not in the area, I'm driving through, and then all of a sudden there's an accident. You call 911, where are you? And it's like, I don't know, I'm on a road. I mean, is it worth taking the second it takes to pull up your phone and see where you are? Like,
yeah.
that's worth doing versus trying to get there quicker, just because even though it's only like 10 seconds, the help's not coming if you don't.
100%. So if you know where you're at, a lot of times these new 911s, they can triangulate your phone and kind of get a good idea. But if you're like, hey, I'm on Highway 90, the last town I passed was Clinton, and that was like 10 minutes ago, they can start getting an idea on where you're at. You know, if you got 2 seconds and you have, say you're on X open or something, you can give them a lat long, that's awesome. But really, like, if you don't do that, by the time you get to that vehicle and you start getting involved, 10 minutes is gonna go by like that and you didn't get help coming. So I would try to get help coming as soon as possible, depending on where you are. They might have a helicopter in the air, could be cops in the area, but like get help coming first thing.
All right, so let's say you have some very basic first aid training. You have a medical kit in your car. You're running up to this scene. You don't know what you're gonna find. What do you do?
Well, first of all, you should walk. I wouldn't run.
Man, I'm already failing.
Yeah, so just, you know, what I would do is try to take a big picture in. So like, you know, my first thing, I get out of my vehicle, I'm like, grab my first aid kit and I look and I'm like, okay, there's one car upside down, there's 2 cars pulled over there. Are they involved? Are they not involved? Did they stop as well? So like, I'm gonna survey the scene and I'm gonna be like, what do I have here and what am I dealing with? So then I'm just gonna start with the vehicle closest to me. I'm gonna walk up to it and I'm gonna check those people and then I'm just gonna kind of go through them all real quick and triage them and just, you know, making sure, hey, is this person breathing? You know, they have circulation. If they can talk to me, do they have mental status? Can they tell me what's wrong? I'm gonna move on to the next patient. Once I get that vehicle done, I'm gonna move on to the next. Then I'm gonna move on to the next. As more people pull up, there's always a nurse or a firefighter or someone that watched, you know, ER on TV that's willing to help. So like, you know, you can have even people that don't know anything, just like, hey, this guy right here, can you just keep him here because he's kind of, you know, out of it, and just so he doesn't wander out into traffic.
As I was talking to you, you posed this really funny question to me about using a window breaker. Well, it turns out you should really know exactly how to use your equipment if you're carrying it.
But you think about a window, and depending on how big the window is, it has all that flex to it. So honestly, like in the very corner of the window, like at the bottom, that's where you want to break it. And then it's this, that window can't flex, so you don't need as much strength to break it. I gave you the idea of like, oh man, there's a car in the river, and you just seen it, what are you gonna do? And you're like, I'm gonna swim out there. And I was like, okay, how are you gonna break the window? And you're like, I'm gonna swim back, I'm gonna get a rock, and I'm gonna swim back. And it's like, well, cool, now you're probably tired.
Yeah,
so,
and like time has gone by where these people might be trapped underwater.
So just think about something like that. It's like, hey, there's a car and I just watched go off. Maybe I should grab a rock and put it in my pocket and swim out there, or anything like that.
We've all seen the movies where everything's totally fine, and then all of a sudden the car just explodes. Is there usually like a fire that's preceding that, or does it just, you know, is it like the movies? Because
well, if it's gonna explode, I would start walking away really slow.
But you know it's gonna explode.
Get that cool guy, like explosion in the background.
That's when you make sure the TikTok or Instagram guy is there,
100%.
camera in slow-mo.
Yep.
Very important, or else it didn't happen.
No, so cars typically don't explode. They catch fire and burn. If the fire is burning, no matter how hurt that person is, get them out. Because think of it like, hey, this kid just jumped off, you know, a diving board and into the 3-foot section and popped his neck. Well, if we move him, we could paralyze him. Well, if we don't get him off the bottom of the pool, he's dead.
Right.
It's the same thing in the car. Car's on fire, gotta get him out.
Yep.
You know, if you paralyze them in the process, they're still alive. No, and this was a great scenario I gave her. I said, hey, this person's in the vehicle, you know, they got a side impact and, you know, their foot got pinned between like the brake lever, you know, so the brake lever is bent over and holding their foot down, and that's the only thing impinging them. And I was like, what would you do? And she's like, I'm cutting their leg off.
I got a tourniquet.
And I'm
I
like,
got 2 tourniquets.
well, that would definitely work. But I was like, you know, some webbing or something like that, which I usually carry in my, you know, car first aid kit. You can wrap one of those and then wrap the door, and then you can just kind of push that door around, and it's just enough because you have a big fulcrum. You can just bend that back over. So things like that.
So to be clear, you don't just go right to amputation?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. How do you feel about people who think they're just going to be able to like make some tourniquet out of whatever they have lying around?
For me, a lot of times I'm alone and like I'm not gonna make anything, so I'm gonna use one of the like cat tourniquets. I really like them, they're quick. You know, I can slide one on myself. The problem is how long does it take you to build a tourniquet? And like, so say if your arm or something, I'm gonna have my knee and I'm gonna be like right into that wound, you know, trying to stop that while I'm building that. Yes, my belt may work, but it typically is not gonna work as well. Carry them, they're cheap, you can buy them everywhere. I always carry a bunch of them, but it's like if you don't have them, think of something else, you know, because that's the thing that can make or break your experience. You know, if someone bled out and you didn't have one, again, it's not your fault, you didn't create this problem, but it's like the rest of your life, you're like, I probably could have made a difference if I'd had one.
I read a Reader's Digest story when I was little about a woman who used her bra as a tourniquet when her husband was attacked in by a grizzly.
Yeah.
So I'm always just hoping a female is the one to save me.
Well,
in that
I guess it would
situation.
depend on how big of a girl it
That's
was.
true.
Because if it's a little girl, it might not be a big enough tourniquet for one of my legs. So
That's true.
I hope it's a big girl.
All right, always go out in grizzly country with a big girl.
Yeah. No, but I mean anything. You could take a shirt and you could literally, roll your shirt up and then put a stick in it and just wind it tight enough, and then maybe whatever you need to, a belt, whatever it takes. I mean, you just need to stop that bleeding.
If someone is walking around and they say they're fine, should you be worried? We also talked about if you have children involved.
That adrenaline phase kicks in right away. So like you don't feel that you're hurt. If someone's like, I'm fine, they're on an adrenaline high. And they could be injured, but maybe bad, maybe not bad. It could be internal bleeding. Maybe you have a liver lack and you're bleeding out and you don't even know it because you're just kind of riding this high. Where this guy's got an arm that's broken, and so maybe you're tunnel visioned on that. You're like, oh my gosh, that bone's out. And they're just so focused on that bone's out that this person's bleeding out. So like, remember, don't get focused on anybody, don't tunnel vision. But then like kids always scare me, not because they're kids, but kids compensate forever. Like a kid will be like, I'm fine, and then they're not. So kids, they're young, their bodies, they're pliable, they take a lot, and essentially, man, they just compensate forever and then they go downhill quick.
I thought you were insinuating that children in general just scared you as a whole.
No, girls do, because I have 3 boys. Like if I had a daughter,
you should be terrified.
Yeah, but I got 3 boys, so I'm not scared.
That's fair.
I'm just trying to keep them from killing themselves. So that's all I gotta do.
Stay safe out there. Make sure you have everything you need in your vehicle. Don't text and drive, and don't carry out unnecessary amputations, especially if you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Laura Zara is not a doctor.
This girl offered me $10 to come here and talk about car wrecks. So whatever I
Everyone's
say,
gonna think he really works for the fire department.
I just want to say it's amazing she called me a friend, and this is the first day we met.
Yeah.
So that means a lot.
Best friend. What do I do with my hands?
I like to go fast.